All right, let's call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you all. Could I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any resident comments and or questions? Residents? Beeler? No reports. If I could get a motion to open a public hearing for the delinquent utilities certification to county.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Merrick. Sorry. Ms. Sanzeiden.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, city staff, especially I'm going to identify Brenda After, has worked diligently to collect unpaid charges for delinquent utilities. Despite these efforts, certain charges still remain unpaid. Therefore, the city set this assessment hearing this evening. If this certification rule that is being presented is adopted by the City Council, the proposed amounts would be certified to the Carver County Auditor. And these liens shall be payable for a period of 1 year. This would be along with their 2017 property taxes at a rate of 5% with the $20 administrative charge. And a copy of the resolution is in your packet with the attached assessment roll. And I would be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Ms. Monroe.
I just have a question. It looks like out of all of them, most of them say that they're delinquent on just the storm water. So do you mean they just didn't pay the storm water charge?
That is correct.
Wow, that's interesting.
Are those people still on well service in the city? So that's all the water that they would be charged for is storm sewer.
Oh.
Well, so they're well and septic still.
Man, are you going to be missed.
Thank you for that clarification. I thought maybe they just decided I'm not paying.
Yeah, I'm not paying this.
Okay.
All right. There is a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Oh, wait. What motion was there?
I thought there was a motion. There was not a motion. Holy Hannah. I'm trying to do two things. Open it, yeah. All right.
Do you think we need to keep it open at all? I mean, we just started the meeting. What if?
Yeah, you're right. Let's leave that open for a little bit and we'll go back to it.
No, you can't act on it until you close the public hearing.
Right. So we can leave that open. Can we move on? We can move on, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Leave it open for a while. I have it circled to go back to. So let's move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no unfinished business. Mr. Merrick, let's go to 9.1 in Ironwood Park field lighting.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. On the screen and in your packets is a site plan for the Carver Elementary School and proposed Ironwood Park, or I shouldn't say proposed, under construction Ironwood Park. At your July 18th meeting, you reviewed the potential of lighting the two fields that are located in the lower left portion of that site plan, located in what I'd say the southwest corner of the site. By a motion of 3-2, the council voted not to move forward with the preparation of plans and specifications. However, since then, two athletic associations, namely the CC Youth Football Association and the C3 Lacrosse Association, have approached the city regarding the council's willingness to, again, reconsider the lights on these two fields at Ironwood Park. A meeting was held, and both of the associations have submitted letters within your packet, and I believe we also have representatives from both of these associations to speak to the need and the willingness to use these fields should they be lit. I placed in your packet what I would call a draft schedule should the city council wish to proceed, where you'd authorize plans and specifications to be prepared. But then what it really does is sets out, there'd be additional approvals. You'd have to approve those plans and specifications in January, put it out for bid, and then probably sometime in February, award those bids, should you choose to move forward, and then construction of the project in the spring of 2017. Stantec has submitted a proposal for $4,000 to prepare the plans and specifications. When Brian Skoke, the Public Services Director, originally presented an estimate on field lighting, he had a range of $138,000 to $206,000 for a 6-pole lighting system. So I'd condition that cost range based on we haven't had Stantec prepared plans and specifications, and so they do some analysis on foot candle and what the illumination requirements would be for those fields. And there'd probably be there would be an engineer's estimate based on that. Right now, there isn't adequate funding in the Park Dedication Fund to pay for this lighting project, but we are anticipating that there would be enough development in 2017 that an interfund loan could cash flow the project until such time that the Park Dedication Fund could pay back that interfund loan. Again, letters from CC Football, C3 Lacrosse. The site plan, again, is on your screen, and then the proposal from Stantec. I'm happy to answer questions, and I know we have representatives from the Football and Lacrosse Association here as well.
All right. Does anybody have any questions based upon what Brent has talked about? I would just add to the narrative, if you will, that Councilmember Henry and I had an opportunity to sit down with the gentlemen that represent these two organizations, as well as a representative of Minnesota Valley Electric, to have an opportunity to take a look at what that might entail. And I think the obvious is that Glenn and I came across as very much in favor, based upon our previous interest in moving forward with the lights. But having the two organizations, I'm going to have each of you guys come up and just give a brief synopsis of the need for your own organizations. It was good to have actually people come forward based upon what we looked at before. When Mr. Skoke looked at the numbers, he basically looked at electric company that gave an estimate. We have never done formal bids, or excuse me, what do you call that?
RFP.
Thank you. Either a request for a proposal or plans and specs, so that we can find out what the need is, how much it would cost. I get the sense that it wouldn't be as much, but we have the money if we need it. But also putting forth the fact that we have two 220 by 360 foot fields that can be a huge part of our community, both for the kids as well as what we're trying to do moving forward with the professional organization. So why don't one of you guys come up at a time, just give a quick brief synopsis, and we can see where we're at. Appreciate you being here, by the way.
Thanks for having me. So my name is Tim Van Hollen, and I am the Vice President of CCFA, which is Chaska-Chanhassen Football Association. And there is a need for lighted fields. There's no doubt about that. We have really 3 lighted fields that we played on for the 2016 season, being the Chanhassen High School, the Chaska High School, and then we have the one field at Clover Ridge. There's 2 fields at Clover Ridge. One is being rested right now, so there's really just one that we could use.
And the other one will be rested next year?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, you know, we have about 500 kids that play football for us, and we host about 75 home games a year. And we like to play some of those games at night. It's just a great experience for the kids. So it's not only games, but more importantly, it's really practices. Because we're a fall sport, obviously, daylight is a premium as the season gets longer, and we have very, very limited fields that are lit for practice. So what that means for our kids from 3rd through 8th grade is you have to start practice incredibly early, especially what's tough for working parents to get their kids to the field by 5 or 5:30, and then having to leave earlier. It's just, and later for that matter. It gets long nights. So there's definitely a need there. Me being a Carver resident for the past 12 years, I think it'd be great for, just selfishly, for our kids to have something to call their own versus driving to.
Well, if you don't mind me piggybacking on that,
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Glenn and I were talking, and it also boils down to, at what point do we figure it's our turn to help out within. Our kids in Carver played in Chaska and Chan and Victoria and using their facilities forever. And with the growth that we're going to experience, I think we have, how many did you say, 500 kids?
500, yes.
Okay, I just drove up the Mattamy Way and went through that first phase that is almost all built out. Not only is it spoken for, it's almost all built out. And I drove back into the second phase, and so I've lived here since 1995. Did you know there's a house back there? I didn't know there's a house back there. So if you go all the way back and take a right, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's a house back there. I didn't know there was a house back there. We are growing like crazy, and all of that entire group of elementary school kids in just that development are going to go to Carver Elementary and play football and lacrosse. And I think it's time for us to provide facilities for other organizations to come in and use as well. So that's what I wanted
No,
to
and
piggyback
I
on
would say it's very much time, because the teams that we play, like the Eden Prairies, the Prior Lakes, the Shakopees, they all have a plethora, it seems, of lighted fields. I mean, we're to the point where we want to host a home game at night, and we have to actually have a home game away at times because we just don't have the facilities.
But they let you use their facilities.
Well, they let them, but that's a home game, but it's a home game for them. So of course they're happy to host a home game for CCFA, right? It's just more driving and more time on the road when we could have a beautiful facility here in Carver.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Wait, I have a couple questions.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, get after it.
The last time Mr. Van Holland, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Was here, we discussed if, we had asked if there could be any economic participation from these groups. Did you go back to your groups and talk about that?
We have talked about it.
Okay, what's the news there?
Let me interrupt you before you. One of the things that we talked about was, do we want to accept financial gifting, if you will? The reason being is that when we start getting into scheduling, I can tell you that if the football organization over the lacrosse organization gave $8 more, they're going to expect preferential treatment in terms of scheduling. Are we okay with that?
You're assuming that they'll expect that.
I would. That's all.
Not if there's a policy put out there. I mean, I'm just asking because you had said you would go back to your organization and talk to them and see if there could be any help economically with this.
And there is. There absolutely is. We're prepared to do that. We've held multiple fundraisers, and this is important to us.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a number, I'm not prepared for that.
No, I'm not. I just didn't read anything
$7.
in either of the letters, and I
Yeah.
was just curious if that was still.
We're serious about it. We'd
Okay.
love to be a partner.
Yeah. And
So, sorry,
Can
go
I
ahead.
finish?
Yep.
Okay. The second thing is I just wanted to say thank you for writing these letters and letting us know, because one of my reasons for voting against it previously was that I didn't have any information about how many individuals would participate in using these fields at night. So this helps me a little bit.
Happy to help.
And I think that we have known along the way that organizations are willing to and to contribute financially. And then I think it boils down for me personally is, what do I want to see? I mean, we have a football organization. I would rather it's just one person. We're not to that point yet. I'd rather you get great shoulder pads to help the kids and great helmets so that they don't get hurt, so that they have a safe environment and go on. If the lights are what we should do, I think that's what we should do, but I think that's what we get into at a different time, so. Does anybody have any other questions at this point? I heard a.
Well, I have a question. This is not the gentleman I want to ask the question of, so
Oh,
I'm assuming we're not done yet, right?
do you have another individual that you'd like to ask a question of?
Mr. Mayor,
I'd like to look, C3, yeah, absolutely. We'll follow the process. Thank you, Mr. Van Hollen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hank? He smiles when I say that. I like that.
Hello, I'm Henry Whitney. I'm with C3 Lacrosse. I'm communication director in the board. I'm on both boards and stuff. So, yeah, C3 Lacrosse, we are more summertime. So, but we, for games and stuff, we're tight for fields, full-size fields, just like football and everybody else is. And lights will help us in the summertime. We're starting to get more because we need officials too. So it's better to have, we always normally have 2 games, but if we have a lit field, we could play a triple header in a day. So in the summertime, we start at 6 o'clock, play a 6, 7, even 8 o'clock game, and be done. And so that's where the lights will really benefit C3 Lacrosse. And lacrosse is the fastest growing high school sport in the country. And so we're getting a lot more people and everything. And so we're in the same boat where we need practice space, so we're not just using the same fields all the time and everything. And we're just like that. We're kind of like a traveling type thing, so we do play all the areas around. I mean, different levels go all the way to Stillwater, all over the state and stuff, and play. And then we do for C3 a year ago, we did a little girls tournament because there's not stuff, and so this would be perfect for hosting a weekend tournament, stuff like that. And from the way you guys have talked about how the fields are going to be designed, it's going to be great. So we're
How many participants in C3?
C3, we're probably, I don't remember all the numbers, but it's 200-300 more and stuff. And like I said, every year, every level, we're growing a team at a time and stuff. So it's growing very fast. And then we are going, and as it gets bigger and better, more kids, there's stuff coming up in the fall and stuff, and then we'd be really needing lights and stuff. But we're more spring and summer. But definitely could use the fields and everything, and the lights will be a big benefit.
Thank you.
And the age levels for all your
Oh, we're like football. Actually, now we're going to be almost 1st through 8th.
1st through 8th?
Yeah, because we just our overseeing group for the Minnesota, we just went to the even years, so we're going to have U8 teams too. So that'd be 1st and 2nd graders all the way up to 8th graders.
And that's Chaskatchan, Carver?
Chaskatchan, Carver, Victoria, the whole school,
Basically
the whole school district. Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions of Henry? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Who'd you have a question of?
Anybody have any idea what the electric bill is going to be for this yearly?
No, what we can do is once the plans and specifications are created, we can take those to Minnesota Valley Electric and coordinate with them on what their estimated bill would be. When we had the representative from MVEC in here, he seemed fairly confident to be able to calculate that for us. He just needed to know what the load was going to be based on the design.
But then I won't be able to vote on it.
That's the way it goes, Jim.
Any more questions?
Well, I'll make a motion to authorize Stantec to prepare plans and specs for field lighting at Ironwood Park.
Not to exceed $4,000.
Whatever you want it to be, Mr. Motion Guy.
not to exceed $4,000.
There's a motion not to exceed $4,000.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think it's a great idea. And I thank you very much for your involvement. Very helpful. As a matter of fact, I'd like to thank Tim personally. Just brought the need and brought it back. This would be dead without you. Thank you. There's a motion. There's a second. Any other discussion, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's a motion to do the feasibility study.
Well, the plans and specs.
Plans and
Correct.
specs.
Yes. All right. Thank you, boys. Moving forward, do we want to go back? Have we given enough time for the open public hearing?
Yes.
It's been 20 minutes. Could I get a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Could I get a motion to approve Resolution 14916 that adopts the certification role for delinquent utilities?
So moved.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All the questions, I don't have any, but our city attorney has a pained look on his face. Is that due to this? Okay, all right. That's he does, doesn't he? He just. All right. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Let's move on to our 9.2. Ms. Sans Eiden with our employee health insurance.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you are probably aware, the city had obtained our health insurance as a member of a co-op. And if you remember back when we talked about a renewal for 2016, we were talking about an 18.5% increase. So we're at that time going to look at other options. And then in addition to that, finding out in 2017 for our renewal, we are going to be looking at a 29% increase. Therefore, again, based on that, staff had investigated possible options to mitigate the impact of these premiums going forward. In doing so, as I talked about in the work session earlier this evening, staff worked with Flexible Benefits Consulting to consider more affordable options. The two proposed plans that will be available to employees were identified in an attached document in your packets this evening. One is a more standard plan that is called the 3 for Free, and then the second one is a health savings account with a higher deductible, and employees will have their choice of the two options depending on their specific needs. The financial implications in regard to the city's contributions toward the premiums remains the same as it has in the past. Also included in your packet was a copy of the chart that identified the city's cost as comparison, starting with the existing plan that the employees have through Blue Cross Blue Shield for 2016. Then it also included what it would cost if we stayed with that same plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield going forward into 2017 with that 29% increase. Then you'll see the other two options being offered for 2017 with Health Partners, the standard one I mentioned, and then the health savings account. And it should also be noted that with the health savings account that there is an additional city contribution identified in the chart as well. And for a single premium, it would be $1,000 annually, and for a family plan, it would be $2,000 annually. And that would be allocated two different times throughout the year. Half would go in on January 1, and then the second half would go in on July 1st. And therefore, if this is approved this evening, the city is going to be moving forward with providing information or an opportunity for employees to ask questions. They have received the proposed plans, and they would have an opportunity to ask detailed questions with Flexible Benefits Consulting. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
So through this process, they will have the opportunity to ask Flexible Benefits Consulting any specific questions as it pertains to whatever they want to do?
Correct.
Okay.
They have received the preliminary information that you have in your packet, so they had an opportunity to look through it, and then they will have an opportunity to sit down with Flexible Benefits Consulting to ask a group question or to ask one-on-one questions.
Okay, so what we're being asked to do is to approve the options.
Correct.
Has there been any pushback from any of our employees since we have not had an opportunity to talk with them?
You know, I think most of the comments that I've heard is people were very, I think, thankful for the plan that we had up until this point, and we're quite surprised that we had such a rich plan. And I think they've all been watching the news and talking to friends and neighbors and other
Cadillac.
knowing that this is, you know, going to get to a point where it's just not an affordable plan anymore. So we're looking at we think some very viable options here.
Wow, extremely well done.
I have a question.
Please.
Are you also looking at dental through health partners, or?
We actually did, if you remember, we did revisit the dental.
Yeah.
Our dental plan was up in April, but
okay.
we actually found what we thought was a better plan
Okay.
through Delta Dental, and we went forward with that, and we've already gone to that at a cost savings with
Okay.
equal benefits.
Yeah, because I'm familiar with this health partners because my company just switched to them, and we switched our dental from Delta Dental to Health Partners.
Oh.
Much better plan. So just to think about, maybe they give you a pretty huge discount. So
I think we actually went the other way when we looked at the plan for going into 2017. But we will be revisiting this on an annual basis just to make sure.
why is the dental not run concurrent with the health?
It was basically when I started, the renewal was April 1, and so it was an annual. It was a one-year contract, and then now working with Flexible Benefits Consulting, we found that we could find a better plan at a more affordable cost, so we decided to switch early.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Are we getting a
Welcome.
discount at all for every time that we say flexible benefits consulting?
No, we are not.
Okay, all right, maybe we should look at that. All right, any other questions or comments?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2 employee insurance options from Health Partners as presented for January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017.
There's a
Second.
there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh, wait, hold on. Any other discussion or questions?
Nice work, Vicki.
Well done. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now moving on to our fire service agreements, which went extremely well this year.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packets are proposed agreements for fire service with both Dahlgren Township and San Francisco Township. Each of them run for 5 years. We're currently finishing up on 5-year contracts with each of the townships. One significant change to the agreement is that the city would pay for all salary and benefit costs related to a fire chief should the city choose to hire that position in the future. As indicated earlier during the work session, that's not allocated for in the 2017 budget. That said, in 2015, the city collected approximately $115,000 in revenue related to the fire services agreement. Each township is charged based on a formula that's related to cost of service, usage of service, market valuation, and population. And that new formula was created at the last 5-year contract interval. Both of the agreements were prepared and reviewed by the city attorney, and during a fire board meeting, it was indicated by both of the townships or representatives from both the townships that they were willing to enter into another 5-year agreement. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Any concerns? I would like to add one thing. This was done with Gene Miller's approval, and Gene Miller is now retired. Yes, Gene Miller did not run for re-election, and his position has been filled. Mr. Miller, you have no one left to fight with.
Always have you.
Oh, I had. Yeah. That is true. Could I entertain a motion to approve our fire services agreement with Dahlgren Township?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any questions, concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Could I entertain a motion to approve a fire services agreement with San Francisco Township?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to Mr. Harris and our council manager form of government.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi,
Is
Larry.
your phone off now?
Thank you. Yes, it is.
I think so.
As the council is aware, over a course of many meetings earlier this year, the council considered whether it would be appropriate and advisable for the city to move to a Plan B, city manager form of government. Ultimately, on June 20th of this year, the city council adopted a resolution placing the question of whether the city should move to the Plan B form of government before the general electorate of the city at the general election on November 8th. At the general election, the question on whether the city should move to Plan B passed by a significant margin, 64% in the affirmative. That means the city needs to take certain steps to move to a Plan B form of government. There's actually 3 steps in the process. The council adopts a resolution. The resolution question goes to the electorate. If the electorate votes in the affirmative, then the city has to take the steps to implement. In Carver's case, the implementation is relatively simple and straightforward. There is included within your packet a very simple and straightforward ordinance. It is ordinance
11-216.
11-216, thank you, which basically does 2 things. It calls out that the city is now operating under the Plan B form of government, and it directs the city council to retain a city manager. It also adds a section specifically requiring that you maintain a city treasurer. That's important because in a Plan B city, there has to be a separate treasurer. It can't be consolidated with the manager. And I thought it was appropriate just to spell that out in your code, because otherwise it's the kind of thing people forget later on. I think the ordinance in and of itself is not controversial, given the prior actions of the council, and given that the ballot question passed by such a significant margin. So if we're going to do this sequentially, if there are questions, we should talk about the ordinance first. If not, there is no public hearing required for this ordinance, and it would be in order for a motion to approve the ordinance.
Does anybody have any questions regarding amending the Carver City Code to establish the office of city manager? Go ahead.
So we have to declare someone a treasurer?
Yes, you have to declare somebody a treasurer. In a Plan B form of government, you have to do it. And that person reports to the city manager, but it can't be consolidated with the city manager.
Okay, did we spell that out in the ordinance, who that person would be?
No, the ordinance just says you're going to do it. You don't have to
and then
do
we
it.
do it later.
You can do it later. You can do it by ordinance. You can direct the city manager to appoint a city treasurer, which would probably be within the purview of the city manager.
Which is why we went to a city manager.
It just can't be the city manager.
Right.
Okay.
Is that your question?
Yeah, that was my question.
Anyone else? Could I get a motion to establish ordinance 11-2016, amending our Carver City Code to establish the office of city manager?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, I might add.
I do want to point out it's not like the city hasn't had a treasurer. Ms. Pleckenpool served in the consolidated position of clerk treasurer forever.
Right.
I just want to make sure it got covered in the code, so there's a reminder that you have to have one. Otherwise,
That will come back at another meeting, or we can do that?
you can. My expectation is your city manager is going to appoint one.
Okay.
As long as we make sure
You're
that the
gonna,
title
right?
of city treasurer is part of that, whatever you appoint.
All right.
Or she.
All right, next. And this gets, I think it's important to note that in terms of preparing for this meeting tonight, the materials that are before you were prepared by me. In preparing these materials, I consulted with the mayor. I consulted with the city's personnel attorney, Scott Lansdowne. Mr. Merrick was not involved in the presentation of these materials, and the reason's pretty obvious. The council needs to decide whether the council needs to appoint a city manager. You've just adopted the ordinance that does it. You have in front of you two alternative ordinances. The ordinances are effectively the same. The difference in the ordinances is that one calls for the city to conduct a search for a city manager, and it suggests that if you're going to conduct a search, that you will go and work with Springstead, your consultant who does, in my experience, a significant portion of the management administrative searches in the state of Minnesota. The second resolution has effectively the same whereas clause, but it does two things. It appoints Mr. Merrick as the city manager, and it references Mr. Merrick's employment agreement. The employment agreement that is attached to that resolution was prepared by your personnel attorney. That employment agreement is effectively the same agreement that Mr. Merrick is currently operating, except the job position and the dates have been changed. At this point in time, the council needs to decide whether it wishes to conduct a search or whether it wishes to appoint Mr. Merrick as the city manager. You should know that the ordinance going to the Plan B form of government is adopted tonight, but is of course effective upon publication. I assume it'll go to the paper right away, so it'll become effective a week from Thursday, which would be the next publication date. But I can answer questions about either of the resolutions or anything else in this regard.
So layman's terms, just so that I understand, you and I talked about this quite a bit, but we've just agreed, both through a referendum as well as an appointment of an ordinance 11th, 2016, that we appointed the office of city manager.
You have created the office, you have not filled the position.
Correct. And so right now what we're considering is a resolution 14616 that will either say we're going to go out for a search, which could include Mr. Merrick as part of that we look for someone. I just want to make sure that we're being as transparent as possible. Or we can turn around and make that same ordinance appointing the existing city administrator, Brent Merrick, as the city manager so that we do not go out for a search.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's the difference between the two resolutions. They're numbered the same because, candidly, once you adopt the ordinance, you're going to adopt one resolution or the other, and the council has to decide which one is appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment. Since I've been on the council, we've gone out and searched for 4 administrators. And at best, I would say we're batting 500. So I don't think that's...
Maybe,
I think we got
maybe, maybe 250.
Way less than 500.
Yeah, way less.
I'd make a motion to adopt Resolution 146-16, appointing the existing city administrator, Brent Merrick, as our city manager.
I will second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Let's open it up for discussion. What we have in our packet here states that we have an employment agreement that will then go back and change the dates of employment, start up a whole new resolution. Does this address, it starts a new employment agreement. Does this employment agreement discuss compensation at all?
The employment agreement includes Mr. Merrick's existing salary.
But it has to be, the employment agreement will be approved through this resolution?
That's correct.
Oh, so if we wanted to bump him up one step, we'd do that now?
You certainly can.
Or we did that with the budget.
We
did
didn't,
that.
though, did we?
We did.
Oh, we did? No, we didn't.
We looked at the budget and it's proposed. It's in the budget. We have not put it in the budget.
We haven't approved a step increase.
It sounded like, though, at the work session, we discussed it, that it will be in the budget when we approve the final budget next meeting. Is that correct, Brent? Or can Brent not answer that?
Well, you put Mr. Merrick in a difficult spot asking him that.
I don't think,
We
I
have
thought
the money.
I thought we did not do that we would have to do, okay, may I amend my resolution?
Yes.
Just same as what it said, but to increase Mr. Merrick, or that position with Mr. Merrick in it, one step. From whatever he is now, one step.
Okay, there's a,
I understand, and if I understand your steps correctly, and I will ask Mr. Merrick to confirm this, I think that takes the position from step 20 to step 21.
we actually had to create a step.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So the city administrator position is at grade 19. By the contract, by approving the position description, it goes to grade 20. So what Councilmember Monroe is suggesting is that on grade 20, be moved up, or the position be moved up one step per your approval.
So what you're saying, so that I understand, I just want to make sure that we're as transparent, and so we're approving Brent Merrick as the city manager, going from step 19 to step 20?
Grade 19.
Grade 19 to grade 20. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Yes.
Based upon what we've just talked about up here?
If you just hold on 1 second, I can give
Yes,
you the
let's
specifics.
be 100% sure. Are you comfortable with all this, Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Where's Dan Boyum? He could learn so much from you. So under what we're discussing, it'd be grade 20 and step 8, which is $113,824.57. Okay. So there's an amended motion adding to grade 20, step 8. Accurate?
Yeah.
The second was by Ms. Newhouse.
Yes,
Do you second the amended motion?
I second the amended motion.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second, and part of the discussion, I want to make sure that could you please read it back, Ms. Hanseiden, so that we know exactly what we have on file? Is that okay, Mr. Harris? I'm sensing that's a yes.
Well, the original motion was to appoint the existing city administrator, Brent Merrick, as the city manager. Then that was seconded. Then there was an amended motion to increase the salary to grade 20, step 8.
Thank you. And that was seconded.
That was a motion seconded by the same person.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second. That's part of the discussion. And now to Mr. Harris.
The resolution, or the motion is actually to adopt resolution number 148-16, which is the resolution appointing Mr. Merrick as the city manager. I just want to be clear on that. And then as the employment agreement is an attachment to that, and we will make sure that the attachment reflects what the council has discussed tonight.
Do we need to change any of the language that we've used and put forth so far? Can we vote on this?
You can vote on this.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Wait, congratulations, Mr. Merrick. And you know what? And as a matter of fact, welcome aboard,
Yeah.
Mr. Council, City Manager. You need to get new business cards. I suggest using the rest. Let's be fiscally conservative.
Yeah, just cross off administrator and write manager.
White it out. All right. We are now to City Council communications. Ms. Monroe.
I don't have any.
Mr. Wygand. You just hate this thing.
I do. Can everybody out there hear me?
Do you know that when you're on camera, it's very difficult to hear you when you start speaking? Yeah, like this.
John Van Walter, myself, and Cindy Nash met with, to be honest, I don't remember his name, but gentleman from the county, and we talked about the panels in Depot Park, and it looks like we're going to probably get a double-sided panels. And we'll probably
In
have,
the kiosk?
yeah. No, it wasn't Marty Wells. And we may have to put cement padding on the other side since Now you'd have to stand in the grass, but I think we'll all be happier. We'll be able to give out some more information on the city, and we'll have a better historic view of the city.
Anything else?
That's it. I'm trying to remember.
Metro cities?
Metro Cities, we have a meeting on the 30th that you and I are going to go to.
And Vicky and Diane will be attending as well.
Oh, okay. So that's going to approve, part of that meeting is to approve
Legislative agenda?
legislative agenda. I think that's pretty much it.
Right on. Hank?
We had a Parks Commission meeting, and we interviewed one of the two companies that were looking at doing a park plan. And then we talked about dog parks and possibilities.
Yeah, where'd that go?
Actually, it was pretty well received. There was some interesting information regarding pros and cons to the dog parks that a lot of us weren't aware of. So we're going to look into it a little bit further.
I have
Red?
nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing?
I don't have anything other than to welcome Courtney Johnson to council-elect, as well as Christy Mock. We're in the process. It's going to be, I know it's not today, but starting our goodbyes to Ms. Newhouse and to Mr. Wygan, and I want to at least acknowledge that each time that we have a meeting. And a huge thank you to staff with what we've gone through with the budget and the ease in which you've made it. And Vicki, phenomenal job on saving money on insurance. Incredible. It's just awesome. So other than that, could I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Yes. Oh, I didn't. Nobody even said that.